Yo, 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 testing. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Your boy was having some technical difficulties there. I don't know what's going on. I always have a random issue with my sound. But in the event, hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm Marcus here. We do attorney reactions to current events, trending news, all of that good stuff. If you get some value out of this content, like, share, subscribe, comment, get involved, all of that good stuff. Hey, shout out to you. Hey, shout out to my guy F. Joe Biden. Hey, shout out to you. A big round of applause for the creativity on the name. Okay. Go ahead. If you drop your question in, we going let me see. Let me see. Can they seize illegal funds if you've been pardoned? Interestingly enough, we're going to talk about civil asset forfeitures today. So, hey, I got your question. I'm gonna put it in the queue. I'm not going to forget it. Let me get through because I got a very short. Hey, I'm an attorney, but I got like the attention span of a goldfish. So I, I, I need to stay on topic, but my attention span isn't so bad where I'm gonna forget your question because we got a story where we're talking about asset forfeitures when they could apply if it could apply. That's actually a very good question. I'm gonna even give you a chime on that. Shout out to my guy F. Joe Biden. Well, I'm assuming my guy. Shout out to F. Joe Biden. And that name is fire, mad creative. But I'm definitely going to check, get back to you. Interesting. Okay, we're gonna get into that. Let me cover these few stories beforehand. We're gonna cover three stories today, okay? And I will tell you, caveat: I'm not an asset forfeiture expert, but we got to talk about that today. And I mean, fuck it, I'll look it up while we're here and get to the bottom of it for you. But three stories today. First off, we're gonna talk about a little bit of holiday spending because okay, all right. Hey, I just assumed, but hey, you never know. I don't want to be, even though we're getting rid of DEI. I didn't want to put you in the box, bro. But it's all good. It's all good. I assumed as much. But we're gonna talk about three stories today. One is kind of a flashback where we're gonna talk about asset forfeiture. So, story number one, let's go ahead, dive into it. This is a throwback to the old school financial stuff. This is the season for giving. And by season for giving is the season where, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, most people are probably going to spend a little bit more than they need to make their loved ones happy for Christmas. So, with that being said, let's go ahead dive into this first story. I might tell y'all about the first time I went to a Black Friday shopping event. That shit was crazy. Like somebody got rolled over with a shopping cart. It was like old ladies wrestling. It was absolutely wild. But let's go ahead and tap into our first story so we can get on to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about today.
Today, millions of Americans pack shopping malls and stores across the country searching for the deals this holiday weekend. And new data shows they're spending big. CBS's Elise Preston is among the shoppers. I don't know if you're spending big or not, but I know you're in Commerce, California. Elise.
Listen, I'm trying to save some money right now, Jerika. These long lines have been steady since the mall opened this morning, but crowds are willing to wait to snag a deal.
How much money do y'all spend on average for holidays for like Christmas gifts and shit? Like really, real talk. Like I'll tell you, me personally, the older my kids get, the less the less I spend on money. It's a pain in the ass to have to buy a bunch of toys. That shit is expensive. But when they get older and they want a little bit of cash and clothes, I would much prefer to do that. Let me know in the comments how much y'all spending on y'all Christmas shopping. We put away $100 every 2 weeks in a special fund for Christmas. So by the time Christmas roll around, we got like $2,400. That pretty much covers everything that we're gonna get everybody. It may not cover everything that I gotta get, but everything that we gotta get, we normally have more than what we need with that $2,400.
And they're off. The holiday shopping season is officially underway, and Americans are sprinting for savings.
Look for the deals, the best deals that I can find, and try to stick within my budget.
Online spending hit a record $10.8 billion on Black Friday, a jump of 10% from a year ago. And in-store promotions are bringing customers back to in-person shopping.
So far, so good. We found some good deals at Nike, and I was just at Kate Spade. I found a really cute wallet.
As inflation cools, more Americans are opening up their wallets. The average shopper will spend a little over $1,000 on gifts, up 14% from last year. For those who don't have the cash, buy now, pay later services like Affirm, Klarna, and Shop Pay are becoming increasingly popular.
We're expecting over the course of the season, just over $18 billion to be processed through buy now, pay later.
Putting your purchases on plastic will cost you. Retailer credit card interest rates are on average just over 30%, a record high. 47% of consumers are still paying off last year's holiday debt.
I've been in that position before, and I don't really like being in that position. Save your money. If you can't afford it, don't get it. Don't put it on plastic.
Now, those who don't want to brave the crowds aren't alone. Nearly 58% of this year's Black Friday sales happen on mobile devices. Jerika?
I can believe that. Elise Preston, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna give y'all some quick. This is just things I follow. Oh, shout out! I need to put up the flyer too. I'm actually speaking at a finance conference in DC this weekend. I posted to the community page. It's gonna be dope though. I posted to the community page. I don't give stock advice. I just talk a little bit about common sense. But I agree with you. Shout out to Sis Bernie. What's going on? Typically, if you are out of high school, you probably not getting a gift from me. I used to buy all of my like little cousins and everything gifts. And then one year I went there and was like, yo, how'd you like the gift? And they were like, I don't even know where I put it. And I paid like $100 for like a remote control car. And at that point, I realized, you know what? If you are not under the coverage of this domain, I'm probably not buying you shit. So, hey, remember, set expectations. If you set expectations as to what people can realistically expect to get, people won't expect as much. One dope thing we used to do with the kids, it would be they would get 3 gifts, something they want, something they need, and something to read. We did that when the kids were a little bit younger. I wish we were still doing that shit now. But that's what we did when the kids were a little bit younger. Typically, if you don't got the cash to get it, I would recommend staying away from it. I don't think I've never purchased any Christmas gifts or vacation on credit card. Now, I did a bunch of stupid shit with credit cards, but I never purchased Christmas gifts or vacations on credit card. Those are 2 things that I always tried to cash flow. So I always think that that's the best approach. And I'm going to just be honest. I haven't told anybody because I haven't been diving into super finance content. But I don't know if y'all looking at y'all stock portfolio or y'all 401k, y'all TSP. Hey, I'm up like 34% on the year. That shit is crazy. I already made up in my mind that I'm not moving forward 2025 during the entire term of Trump's presidency. I just established we aren't making any big purchases. No cars, no extremely expensive home repairs. I'm making no big purchases because I remember what the stock market did Trump's first 4 years in office. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to capitalize. So I'm going to make it my goal over the next 4 years to not make any purchases and put as much money as I possibly can into brokerage accounts, into retirement accounts, because hey, in Trump's last 4 years that he was in office, he essentially, I don't know about y'all, but my portfolio essentially doubled in 4 years, that's fucking crazy. Normally it take about 7 years on average to double your portfolio. Happened in 4 years. So Christmas gifts, not everybody getting them. People in this household, y'all gonna get them. Outside of that, no. So just be smart, be wise. The one thing I hate to see you all do, and y'all like family, I don't want to see everybody have a great holiday and then go into 2025 on the shitload of money or waiting for a tax refund so you could pay off a bill for some shit you bought somebody that they don't even give a damn about anymore. So definitely try to avoid that. I think that's always a smart thing to do. Now, let's get into the legal stories, okay? Civil asset forfeitures. I've been doing this attorney thing for 15 years. And I've worked on the defense side, the prosecution side, investigation, some civil fraud matters I've been on the side of. I've pretty much run the gamut. But when I saw these stories about civil asset forfeitures, and particularly how the DEA was doing civil asset forfeitures, to me, it rubbed me the wrong way. So I want to play a clip. This is always dope when I can play a clip from an old video I did. Because I did this video maybe a year and a half ago, if it was that long ago. I don't know when I did it. We'll find out. But civil asset forfeitures are a great tool if they are used correctly. If they aren't used correctly, you're pretty much fucking over citizens by taking their money, never giving it back, and there being no criminal charges instituted. So it looks like today that the Department of Justice had actually done something to rectify this situation. But let's get a little bit of background and see what was going on, particularly at the Atlanta airport with civil asset forfeiture and how people was getting finessed out of thousands of dollars in cash. And this thing's slow. All right, here we go. Here we go. This is always dope when I get to use a video that I did. I get to use a video that I did to talk about something that I want to talk about. All right, let's dive in. Civil asset forfeitures. Hold on. I want to see real quick. When did I do this video? This was, okay, 11 months ago, almost a year ago. So we talked about this almost a year ago. So let's check out how civil asset forfeitures are fucking over law-abiding citizens and people who are trying to do the right thing. And then we're going to talk about what happened to fix it and was this the right move to your destination. Typically, anything more than a couple $1,000s, you could end up on one of these damn videos, and then DFD would be up here talking about what you should do to get out of this shit. All right, let's go ahead and cue up this video.
Hiding in plain sight at the busiest airport in the world. Drug agents walk the concourses, blending in by dressing just like passengers. This is a DEA task force officer scanning passengers boarding a flight for Los Angeles. There's another. How do we know who they are? Because we use the same tactics to investigate them after several passengers said they were targeted for warrantless searches at the gate or on the jet bridge.
I'm a random search, guys. So he says. So those white folks, and I'm the random search.
Hollywood actor John Ellie was stopped by Clayton County officers while boarding a flight to L.A.
Well, you here in Atlanta? Yep. How long are you here? Doesn't matter. Why are you asking me all these same questions? Check my bag, do what you gotta do so I can get out of here, please.
The narcotics officers didn't find anything, but kept asking questions of the Emmy-winning actor.
When's the purchase your ticket? Don't worry about it, man. Just what's it called? Check my bag so I can get out of here, please. All right, back here. Thank you.
That whole thing is just so humiliating. Like, who thinks this is a proper way to treat anyone?
Tabari Sturdivant is an Atlanta-based film director who was also flying to L.A. when agents stopped him at the departure gate.
All my life, I pride myself on being an upstanding citizen, and you still do this to me. I'm clean, like I'll comply, but like, why me?
Drug agents searched Tabari's bags in the boarding area in front of other passengers, some recording on their phones.
I'm thinking more about, making this plane than I'm even thinking about my rights at this point.
Okay. we occasionally got to take a pause to talk about these things. Problem number one, and I get it, it's a tough, and I'm going to just let this play because actually go back if y'all are interested and watch the video because I actually detailed at the end. We're not going to go through this whole thing. I just want y'all to see a few of the situations where they're seizing cash of law-abiding citizens who aren't getting any charges at all. But at the end of this video, I'll put the link probably in the comment or pinned comment or something. I actually talked about how to properly handle declining and not consenting to a search in this particular situation. Tough situation to be in. You've already got through security. You're about to get on your plane. It's probably like the last call for alcohol. They like, yo, last boarding final passengers, and you about to get on the plane, and you see these random plain dressed dudes come up to start asking you. All you thinking about is getting on your plane. So I definitely get his point where he's thinking about making this flight over his rights. But I don't think that's generally the greatest thing to do. Let's try to get through the video. Then I'm going to backtrack and talk about what some of the issues were as we finish this up.
Is that part of their strategy, you think?
I think it's 100%.
Records show that DEA and local police rarely find any drugs or make arrests during what they call cold consent searches at the gate.
I see the finish line to get on the plane. Everybody knows that feeling of getting, right at the door or getting on the jetway when you get blindsided. I'm like, man, I got to get on this flight. And they were like, if you let us do our job, I'll make sure you get on your flight. So I'm like, do what you got to do.
They didn't find anything suspicious in Tabari's bag. So what were they looking for?
He just was like, are you high? Have you smoked? Do you have any drugs in this bag? Do you have any money?
The DEA and other drug agents are seizing millions of dollars from departing passengers at Hartsfield-Jackson, mostly from flights to LA, even though it's completely legal to travel domestically with any amount of cash. We found dozens of cases in Atlanta's federal court, USA v. some amount of currency. That's right. In most cases, they don't arrest the passenger. They arrest their money, even when no drugs are found. The probable cause statements show that the cash is administratively forfeited as drug money if the passenger can't prove on the spot that their money is innocent.
You're either going to sign a consent form saying that you're allowing us to search them,
Okay.
or I'm going to detain them.
That's crazy as hell, right? Oh man, that's crazy. It's just so much going on, and there's a lot that can be done to avoid this. Now I will tell you, hey, when I tell you what I would do in this situation to try to avoid this, chances are you probably gonna get held up just enough to miss your damn flight. But I think that's a small thing that you can rectify as well. But hey, this is terrible. I saw this and I was like, yo, this is horrible.
Then run my dog on it and get a search.
Feel free to search the bag, sir.
Are you willing to sign a consent?
Yes, I will sign a consent form.
See, dude should have been like, get your dog. You want to put your dog on it? Get your dog. Oh man, I just can't. It's hard to make it do this without
search
pausing.
my bags.
In this 2015 Department of Justice report, the Office of Inspector General told the DEA it should stop using a troubling technique, causing passengers to believe a voluntary search is a mandatory TSA secondary inspection. 8 years later, we found DEA agents at Atlanta's airport using similar methods.
We're no different than TSA, man. People just like give us a little more hard time to make it about it.
He just approached me and he asked me for my ID. He didn't state who he was. He just asked me for ID. And I thought he was a Delta agent. He had airport credentials on. And so I gave it to him immediately. I thought this was how I was going to get on the plane or something. I don't know.
The drug agents may be in plain clothes, but they're not undercover. This is Sergeant.
That's crazy. How many flights have you been on where somebody, after you got through security, randomly came up to you and was like, give me your ID? I don't know. I get it. You want to get to where you're going, but a little common sense here, right? Because as you can see, when the news broadcasters give them a little bit of pushback, they're going to run off and scurry off. And that's what happened most times when people doing something that may be borderline gray, not on the up and up, total line between right and wrong. When you shine a light on them, they're like, let's get the hell out of Dodge. But I think that's crazy that, he had on these credentials. I gave it to him because I thought that's how I was going to get on the plane. Like, come on, bro. You been on probably thousands of flights in your lifetime. Sometimes you got to just use a little common sense for something that's happening outside of the norm.
Sergeant David Fikes. He and his canine Bane are still all over the Brookhaven Police Facebook page. Since Fikes was assigned to the DEA task force at the airport last year, records show he's been involved in seizing more than $1 million in cash. His police department has received a 9% cut of that money, more than $100,000, even though Brookhaven PD is nowhere near the airport. If we have the ability to walk up to, say, Officer Fikes or to any one of these agents in the airport, what would you like us to ask them?
How would you feel if somebody did this to you? How would you feel?
We found Fikes and other plainclothes DEA task force officers by going to departure gates for LA flights. They stopped passengers at the boarding door, asking to see their documents before going through their carry-on bags. The searches we watched came up empty. The drug agents cased 3 different gates in Concourse A, blending in with passengers while we observed from a standoff distance. But it didn't take long before the task force officers spotted our phone and camera. Once they sat down, it was time for a cold consent interview of our own.
Hey there, I'm with the news. You're Sergeant Fikes, aren't you? I'm with Atlanta News First.
Okay.
How many innocent people do you have to search before you find what you're looking for?
Sir, I've got nothing to say to you.
Another officer was behind me, out of sight, over my shoulder, giving hand signals to Fikes as I asked him questions.
He was in the
What
back.
about Sabari Sturdivant? Do you remember him? No?
Took everything out your bag and put it all around in front of everybody and made you look like a criminal. Like, how would you feel?
That's so fucked up.
Why do people have to prove themselves innocent? You got nothing to say to these people?
That's absolutely fucking terrible. That's absolutely terrible. It could be completely avoided. The comments, shout out to my guy F. Joe Biden. You are our official co-counsel today because you on the ball with everything. So a round of applause for you and your comments. A chime for you. Shout out to everybody in the chat too. Shout out to Maddie, Bernie, everybody who is tuning in. It's absolutely terrible. They can't restrict your movement. The question you always want to ask is, am I free to leave? And they probably going to respond yes. If they say no, you aren't free to leave. Well, if I'm not free to leave, what am I being arrested for? And they're going to say nothing. Then, like, I think you're in an advantageous position, but you're just worried about getting on the flight. So I get it. Everybody's not an attorney. Everybody doesn't want to challenge. They just want to get the shit over with so they can go and move on with their day. But if you go back and look at that video, I'll pin it in the comment to this video. It was one guy who turned his life around after serving his time in prison, had $25,000. He had a trucking company, and he was traveling from wherever he lived at to Los Angeles to buy a new truck for his business. Now, I agree that it's probably not the fucking brightest idea to take $25,000 in cash, but this dude got his entire $25,000 confiscated. Those assets were seized. It was an asset forfeiture. The guy never had any charges filed against him, and his only recourse to get his money back was to go to court, which cost him an attorney, time off of work, attorney fees. It was another young brother who I think his grandfather died, left him a car. He sold that car, got like $7,000 in cash, and he was an artist. He was going somewhere to shoot a music video with his $7,000. They took his damn money. Again, no charges were ever filed. So this is something that's been going on for a long time. And you heard in that video, the reason why it's so pervasive is because federal law enforcement works with local law enforcement. Everybody kind of gets a cut. And the DOJ OIG was not in favor of what was going on. They were not happy about it at all. So the last point I'm going to make before we talk about what the DOJ is doing now, and this is actually interesting and I think good news. At the end of that video where I was discussing it over a year ago, I took a look at what some persons on the Hill, some senators, some congressmen were saying. And this is one issue across the board with both Democrats and Republicans, donkey, elephants, camel, gerbil, whatever your political affiliation was. Most people agree that, you should be able to travel within the United States with whatever cash you want. And if there's no evidence of a crime, you should be left the fuck alone. So I typically agree with that. In the alternative, if assets are seized, there should be some type of law that says if we seize your assets through some type of asset forfeiture, if no investigation and if no investigation is open or charges are filed within a 12-month time period, we have to give you your money back with interest. That money should not be able to be spent until it's determined that an active investigation or criminal charges are pursued, and that should be the case. That money should be in an interest-bearing account. If nothing happens, no charges, at the end of that period, you should get your money back plus the interest from them holding your damn money up. That's always been my take on it, because I'm just not a fan of having that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a damn good point. It's just like showing ID for no reason. Can you articulate suspicion that I have committed a crime or about to commit a crime? Hey, you all over it. You official co-counsel for the day. Reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. These guys just passed through airport security. It's probably going to be no way in hell that they could even meet that threshold of standard. But now let's take a look to see what the Department of Justice is doing to rectify this situation. It was a long time coming. It took them a long ass time to do it. But let's take a look and see what the DOJ is doing.
In the meantime, a controversial program that allowed.
And I think this is good. I'm not a fan of taking people's shit who didn't do anything. I don't care what your past was, just not a proponent of it.
In the meantime, a controversial program that allowed airline passengers to be searched well after they had gone through security has now been suspended. The DOJ pausing the DEA's program over questions about its constitutionality. Questions were raised after some passengers missed their flights or had to fly without their bags and possessions, and also spent years trying to get back their money and possessions. So let's bring in senior national correspondent Brian Entin, who is live at Miami International Airport. Brian, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, this really is crazy, Nicole. My jaw sort of dropped when I found out about this and just how common it is. You know, people go into the airport, they go through security, they do the searches, they think they've made it. But what's happening is these DEA, these federal drug agents, once inside the terminal, are coming to people that they believe are traveling with large amounts of cash. Come to find out, these people aren't drug dealers. They haven't done anything wrong, but they take their bags, they search their bags, and they confiscate all of the cash. And they tell them basically, we can ask you more questions, you might miss your flight, or you can just give us the bag. And a lot of these people give up their bags with the cash inside. I want to show you one example of it. This was caught on cell phone video. Take a look.
Where's your bag at? I don't consent to search, sir.
You don't. Okay, hold on. I didn't. Hey, this is the first time I'm watching this video, but he said something that I think is very intelligent to say. I do not consent to a search.
Where's your bag at? I don't consent to search, sir. You don't have to consent. Where's your backpack at? Where is it? Under your seat? It got put away, but I don't consent to being searched. I don't care what your consent stuff. I don't really care about your phone report.
Man, I wish that shit would. I wish. Man, I wish an agent would approach me like that. They gonna be in for a long ass day, cause they're gonna be the ones embarrassed, not me, and I might get a big ass check.
What's your backpack? So just for the record, I didn't consent to be searched. They brought, whatever it is, I got dragged off.
This is unconstitutional as fuck.
Is that accurate?
Actually, you walked off the plane. I dragged you off. I took your bag off the plane. So
You took the bag off
Tell your
my
story
plane.
straight.
Okay.
We wouldn't do this and be doing it across the country if it wasn't legal. So it would be shut down.
You are allowed to ask to take my property without my consent.
So many times, Nicole, we're told that the TSA will spot the cash in the bag and then tip off the DEA. The DEA.
Now, I knew that was the case. I knew that was the case. They didn't say it in the last video that I did over a year ago when I was reporting on this bullshit, but I knew that was the case. How else do you think agents will know who's carrying cash if somebody at security isn't giving them the hint, like, oh, this person, red shirt, blue tennis shoes, white hat, had a large amount of cash on them? That's so fucking terrible. This shit is frustrating.
DEA says sometimes they're suspicious if someone's bought a last minute ticket or if they're going to a certain city where a lot of drugs have been moving in and out of. But these people who we've interviewed that are traveling with the cash say, look, many times they have gone to sell a car somewhere. They've left the state to sell a car or a family member's car. They might have $30,000 in cash from selling the car, and they're traveling back home with the cash. It has absolutely nothing to do with drugs. Take a listen.
There was no indication that I was doing anything nefarious. I didn't carry, I didn't have drug paraphernalia. I mean, nothing. There was no reason for them to think that that money was used in connection or, you know, for any type of illegal activity. I was nervous. I was humiliated.
And just so we see, hey, they not discriminating. They getting black folks, white folks, men, women. Is absolutely a shame.
I was, you know, just a whole spectrum of emotions, because it was something that, I mean, I've never had more than a parking ticket. So for me, this was like, you know, really, really frightening.
I mean, they take the people's money, Nicole. They take the bags and they take the money. This has been going on for years. There have been thousands of people involved. There's been this investigation by the Department of Justice Inspector General that just concluded about a week and a half ago, where they said there are significant concerns with this program. They have now halted the program. So they're not going to be doing this anymore in the airport as of the last week and a half. But the issue is a lot of these people still haven't been able to get their money back, Nicole.
Yeah, and Brian, that first video you showed us there, what are these passengers charged with when their property is seized?
They're not charged with anything. I think that's one of the mind-blowing things here. There are never any charges brought against them. They haven't done anything wrong, but they take the money, and then it's such a process trying to get it back. You have to hire a lawyer in many cases and fight. Sometimes people just give up, and this money that they were traveling with, the cash, for whatever reason, like I said, some people selling a car or jewelry, they end up losing the money because they don't want to fight the federal government to try and get it back.
Wow. All right, Brian Inton, live for us there in Miami. Thank you.
So I think that, hey, shout out to the DOJ. I don't know what took them so long, but shout out to them for suspending this program. There needs to be a few things done. I don't know. Asset forfeiture is a mechanism that can be used to deter crime and to bring resources back in to stop crime. So I'm not necessarily against asset forfeiture. I am against it when it seems to break all sorts of fucking constitutional laws. Like, if there's no charges filed, if you don't have any evidence that criminal activity has occurred to obtain that money before you fuck with them, leave people the hell alone. In short, I'm gonna give y'all a quick recap so y'all don't gotta go back and watch that video, even though I'll pin it in the comments. It's not a mandatory requirement if you are in that situation. I was just having a conversation today about being stopped in your vehicle and how a lot of law enforcement officers will ask you a question, and they ask this question this specific way because they can interpret the answer in any way that they want so that they feel as if they have consent to search your vehicle. If you've been stopped before, this has even happened to me before, but if you've been stopped before by like cops who really don't got nothing to do and should be out there fighting and stopping real crimes, this is one of the questions they'll ask. They'll pull you over. If you smoked anything in your car, the standardized language that's going to be in your paperwork is the strong odor of marijuana was emanating from within the vehicle, which gave me probable cause to search. That's mostly the language you'll see a lot of places. But this is how they ask questions. So you got to be real careful how you answer it. And I think that, my guy F. Joe Biden was right. Anytime you have an interaction with law enforcement, I don't give a damn who you are. You can have on your suit just coming from work. I think it's advantageous to record it. Like, I'm recording just to make sure everything is on the up and up. If you got some handy glasses, hit record on your phone, keep it by you so you can see the officer badge number, the vehicle number, the license plate of the vehicle, and all of that stuff. But the question that they'll ask when they stop you is, do you mind if we search your vehicle? And they ask it that way for a reason. Now, what would be the response if I said, "Do you mind if I search your vehicle?" and I say yes? That means that I mind, so I don't want you to search your vehicle. But the reason they ask it that way is, "Do you mind if I search your vehicle?" And then when you say yes, in their paperwork, they'll say, "Hey, he said yes and consented to a search of the vehicle," which is not the case. "Do you mind if I search the vehicle?" No, no, okay. You don't mind. In that instance, they interpret the language of what they asked correctly. But if you say no, of course, I agree. If you say no, I don't mind for you, that means you can search the vehicle. But if you say yes, they write their paperwork to say, "I asked if I could search the vehicle. He responded yes, allowing me consent to search the vehicle." So you have to be real specific with what you say, not just a yes or no responding to their question. "Hey, I do not consent to any search of my vehicle or my person." There actually used to be a little card that you could get. And like when you get pulled over, you just kind of hand it to the police officer and they got all your rights and everything on there. But the other part is you could say that you didn't consent to a search all you want. If you don't have any recording footage to substantiate that, you can't rely on the officer's badge cam. Because I've seen some crazy shit. I remember when I was in North Carolina, criminal defense attorney, and they just started putting cameras on all of the sheriff and police vehicles. And you would ride by on the highway, and I was confused. I was like, "Yo, why does the sheriff have a car pulled over?" So car pulled over, sheriff's car is behind the car that he just pulled over, but the fucking hood to the vehicle would be up. And I'm like, "Yo, well, why is the hood up? That don't make any damn sense." Well, then it hit me. Oh, now I know why the hood is up. The hood was up because somewhere some attorney in the local sheriff or police department said, "Hey, if you pull somebody over, lift up your hood so that way the camera footage is obstructed," which is fucking crazy. Because if you lift up the hood, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, you can have all sorts of allegations against you," but somebody advised and thought that was a smart fucking thing to do to allow officers to have interactions with persons without it being recorded. So I'm gonna be honest, like not all officers are gonna try to violate your rights, but a lot of them are. Trust me. And everybody isn't gonna be cool about it. Some people, some officers are great. A lot of them are dicks. So just keep your head on the swivel. Know what your rights are. Know what you can and can't do. And when in doubt, hey, shout out to F. Joe Biden. Hey, record that shit because you can't trust the word of anybody. If it's your word against his word with no footage, that's going to be a uphill battle in a court. That's just me keeping it a buck with y'all. Now let's talk about pardons, okay? Because this is an interesting story, okay? Because I don't know, but throughout history, I've done it. You've probably done it. If you haven't done it, you will do it. If I haven't done it, which I know I have, I'll probably do it again. Any parent who actually loves their kid, at some point, they give them something that they probably don't deserve. Okay. The earliest instance of this, y'all already know I'm a history buff. I love ancient Roman history. The earliest instance of this, for me, hey, shout out. I need to go see Gladiator 2 as well. But the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperors before him for like 100 years never had a natural born son. So the Roman emperor would always adopt some kid, give him his name, and say, "Okay, you're going to carry on the legacy. You'll be Caesar when I'm gone." Marcus Aurelius comes aboard. Him and his brother are co-emperors. His brother passes away. Marcus Aurelius is the sole ruler. He's the first emperor of Rome to have a natural born son in a shitload of years. So what does he naturally do? He says, "Yo, I'm going to give it to my son." He knew his son wasn't ready. He was actually even reluctant to do it. But he was reluctant to give it to his son. He knew his son wasn't ready. I think the consensus amongst the population was that his son wasn't ready. But, as a parent, that's what you do. Sometimes you're going to give your kids a shot at something or give them something that they may not necessarily deserve, or they may not have the skill to be able to hold that position when you are no longer there. Where have we also seen this? Hey, shout out to the people who love their kids no matter what, and they're willing to give them something, even if they. We've all done it. Hey, LeBron James. Bronny James cannot play basketball at the professional level. He can't play at the G League level. I question whether he could play at the collegiate level at a high level. I just say what you want. The dude can't play basketball. It's a great story. I love to see a father and son on the court. Shout out to him. But 100%, 115%, LeBron James used his influence to give his son something that he doesn't necessarily deserve, or that he does, and that he doesn't have the talent to get on his own. So, hey, I'm not mad at him, but the shit happens all the time. He got booted from the ballot tonight. Jay, we're going to dive into that. I did this because I wanted to get this out of the way so tomorrow, Wednesday, we could do our weekly Henyard breakdown. That's crazy. She got booted from the Thornton Township ballot tonight. We definitely going to dive into that. Shout out to my guy Paul for the comment as well. Didn't inherit dad's talent. Yeah, he didn't inherit dad's talent. He didn't inherit dad's genes. So, but we all do it. I've probably given my son some things he don't necessarily deserve because it's my son. I'm like, God damn, this boy get on my nerves, but fuck it. I'm going to do it because I want him to have a little bit of a better head start than I did. So we all remember when the big fuss and to-do was over Hunter Biden and his laptop and what was going on with Burisma. And let's just keep it a buck, okay? We're gonna talk about this pardon and the terms of the pardon, which are wild. But say what you want to say, political affiliations aside, when I heard that Hunter Biden was painting and making art and selling it to rich foreigners for like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, I was like, man, this is a finesse. Like it is no way that this dude is not Van Gogh. This dude is not, painting the Mona Lisa. It's clearly a grift on his part. Now, what we can tell from the evidence or the lack thereof, it appears that they were never able to tie Joe Biden into any of the grifts that his son was doing. But without a shadow of a doubt, I don't care what your politics are, Hunter Biden was grifting like hell. He can't paint, and he was selling paintings to foreigners for tens of thousands of dollars. He was sitting on the board of oil companies, and he don't know shit about oil. Like it was just absolutely crazy. But they were never able to link any specific influence done by the president to Hunter Biden's funds that he was receiving in these bullshit ass roles that he had. So now we're talking about parents who give their kids shit that they don't deserve. Biden stood on business before the election. Before the election, when all of these charges was going down, Biden said, yo, I am not going to pardon my son. If he is prosecuted, that's his business. I'm an equal opportunity justice guy. But once you bow out of an election and there's no chance for you to be president, you change your mind. And I'll be honest, hey, I ain't even mad at him. I actually think he took the much softer approach. But let's go ahead and dive into this story. We're going to talk about some of the terms of this wild ass pardon. And, hey, shout out to parents looking out for their kids. It is what it is.
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden.
Whoa.
CNN
Pause. That's what it was. Hey, shout out to co-counsel for correcting me. $1.5 million for his art, and that shit probably looked like something that my daughter drew and put on the refrigerator when she was like 3. That's absolutely crazy. Now, I will tell you, I do think all politicians grift generally. Most of them are just better at grifting and hiding it than others. But that's a big finesse. I don't know what Hunter Biden's. I'm just be honest. I don't know what his particular area of expertise is that he would do to actually make a living. But $1.5 million for paintings, and you're like, that's crazy as fuck. That's crazy as hell. All right, let's go ahead and check out this story. Pardon. Then we're gonna talk about, hey, would you pardon your child and under what circumstances?
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden. CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny, I believe, is with us. Jeff, can you hear me?
And Jessica, yes.
Okay, what are you learning?
Look, we are just getting a statement from President Joe Biden. He's saying that today he signed a pardon for my son Hunter, and he goes through the reasoning why. Of course.
Now, before we even get, hey, facts. Hey, you, hey, shout out to you. Shout out to that comment. You already know we got to talk about the 11 years because there's a specific reason. There's a specific reason why it was done for 11 years, I think. So we definitely gonna dive in and talk about that. But before we finish, hey, as always, a round of applause for all the good parents out there doing their thing, taking care of their kids. A lot of parents do it. I've seen it. I've probably done it. I'm trying to think. When was a time when my son was in trouble outside of the house? And I was like, nah, let me finesse it. So I got one particular instance. I might tell that story. My son, he ain't gonna watch this, so I might tell that story. But shout out to the parents who love their kids and will do anything for their kids. Let's see the reason why he did this, and do we think is legitimate?
He signed a pardon for my son Hunter, and he goes through the reasoning why. Of course, Hunter is facing a sentencing later this month, but this is really a monumental moment for President Biden. He said several months ago in June, when he was still seeking a re-election, that he would not pardon Hunter Biden, but now we are learning he is. And let's just read through this statement quickly together. He said, "Today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted." So this is a fairly long statement, about 4 or 5 paragraphs from President Biden.
All right, let's talk about this real quick. Okay, he pardoned his son. He initially said he wasn't going to pardon his son, but now he's saying that his reason was, I stayed out of it, but I had to pardon my son because this prosecution was unfair and he was targeted. Now, I will tell you, the crimes that he had, a lot of people like, oh man, those weren't really any crimes. People go to jail for that shit all the time. That dude owed $1.4 million in taxes that he didn't pay. And I know a lot of celebrities who went to jail for owing fucking taxes. Just ask Wesley Snipes. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that it wasn't some. Well, I don't know about the targeting thing. We're going to talk about that because we can agree to disagree. But the crimes that were committed, not paying your taxes, people go to jail for that shit all the time. And the second crime was he lied on a federal form when he was applying for a firearm. That happens a lot. Now, I will tell you, this situation is a little bit of a distinction because most times when people lie on those forms, they do so in an effort to conceal a prior conviction or something to that effect. But it's kind of the same situation. Have you ever been under the influence of drug, or are you under the influence of drug now within the past however many years of signing this application and you put no? What is the reason for doing that? Because one, you want the firearm, but two, it's the concealment of a crime, which is being under the influence of some type of drug or using some type of drug. So it happens all the time. You know who else got hemmed up? A celebrity got hemmed up for capping on a form to purchase a firearm. I can't even think of it. Super Gremlin, Kodak Black. So those crimes that he was charged with and convicted of, people do them all the time, and people go to jail for them all the time. Sometimes it's done on much larger scales, or the facts and circumstances make it a little bit more serious. But that shit happens all of the time. Now, do you think, okay, yeah, do you think, okay, exactly, but he went to prison for that shit. I think this dude owed 1.4 million or something like that. Well, I might have just made that number up, but it was in the millions. And it was like for tax year 18, 19. It was for 2 or 3 tax years. It was absolutely crazy. But I disagree with him being targeted. Do you all think he was targeted? Let me know in the comments if you think Joe Biden's son was targeted. I'm going to go on a record and say I don't think he was targeted. And if he was targeted, whose fault is it for being targeted? It's probably yours, Joe Biden. Say what you want. This is probably, I know everybody gonna be like, oh man, he voted Trump, and everybody gonna get on me. Oh man, I don't know what he is, but let's just keep it a buck. You are the president of the United States. You appoint an attorney to head up the Department of Justice. So the attorney that you appointed prosecuted your son, and your argument for pardoning your son is that he was unjustly targeted for political motivation. I don't understand. Like, you appointed the attorney general. So the reason that your son got prosecuted is because your attorney general decided to prosecute him. I don't know. I can't rationalize in my mind the targeting. Did you target? You was like, hey, and I get it. Now, politically, it could be some political nuance where he was like, hey, I may want to run for office again. I don't want to look like I'm going light on my son. So go ahead, prosecute him for something. Prosecute him for something. And I do have, I think, an opinion on why he got the 11 years and why he's saying it was targeted, even though he picked the attorney general who decided to move forward with this. And I do think there's a specific reason why he wanted the attorney general to move forward with these particular charges, because there were likely something out there a lot worse. Let's just keep it a buck. That's my opinion and my thoughts on it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. But I don't know. The art sales covered. It was 1.4 in taxes too. Okay, I knew I got the 1.4. I thought I saw it somewhere, but then I just remember that 1.4, so I was a little confused. So shout out to me. Shout out to me. The question on the gun form is a violation of the Fifth. That's arguable. Arguable. It's arguable. Everything is arguable. Let me see real quick. Let's see. All right, let's go ahead finish watching this video. But hey, shout out to your comment. I think it's an arguable point. Because why would you want to admit to a crime? You're incriminating yourself and opening yourself up for prosecution. So, hey, I see the argument there. I think it's a sound argument. Exactly. There's some unique language in there, and that language is there for a reason. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit more of this video. We're not watching the whole 9 minutes. I love y'all, but I'd be damned if we would watch the whole 9 minutes. But I think it's a little bit of gamesmanship. I think that these guys sitting in the White House, I mean, I don't think they're members of Mensa, but they aren't stupid. These politicians are not dumb. And I think I'm going to tell y'all what the play was. Y'all let me know, am I wrong? Am I a conspiracy guy now?
But really going through why he is making this decision. He also goes on to say this. He said, no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out because he is my son.
You picked the attorney general. I don't understand that argument. That's a terrible argument to make. You should have just pardoned him and not said anything. That's what I would have did. Honestly, I'm going to just keep it a buck. If it was my son and it was something like this, and I was like, yo, I'm going to give my son a pass, I'm not even letting it get to this point. I'm going to be like, hey, attorney general, use your resources to investigate something else. That's what I would have did. But I'm going to tell y'all why I think it was done this way. But I think that's completely BS to say that your son was targeted by the U.S. Attorney's Office when you are the person who picked the United States Attorney. So you had more than enough pull and leverage to make sure this prosecution didn't happen. But I'm going to tell y'all why I think it did happen in a minute.
And that is wrong. He goes on to say there's been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. So, of course, Jessica, let's take a step back. You obviously covered the Biden campaign along with me, and this is something that Hunter Biden has been dealing with. This was a tax case, a gun case. He went through his trial in Delaware. There was another case in Los Angeles. But this is really the culmination of President Biden really making the decision tonight to sign a pardon for his son Hunter, not just a commutation of a possible sentence, but a pardon, which certainly will be part of President Biden's legacy going forward.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And as I'm reading this along with you, Jeff, I think one part at the very end is particularly striking, which is where he says, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. They'll be fair-minded. And here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. But as I have wrestled with this, I also believe.
Where's my, oh man, I left my prop hat. Well, it's the hat that Joe Biden's wearing in the thumbnail, the blue one. That's cap. That's cap. You know, if you're going to stand on business and saying I'm telling the truth, and I believe in the justice system, you would have let that shit ride. I'm not mad at you. That's your son. I get why you did it, but don't just do it. Don't come up with all these cockamamie reasons that he's been selectively prosecuted when you had the means and the authority and the power to make sure that your attorney general didn't move forward with this prosecution of federal charges. It's not like it's a state charge and you couldn't do anything about that.
Believe raw politics has infected this process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. It is interesting to also hear him saying essentially that the justice system was politicized, which is something we've heard from Republicans and Donald Trump as well.
Hey, now we see you. Now we see somebody trying to steal someone's talking points. But 11 years. All right. What? There's a specific reason. Okay. If my son comes to me and he did some dumb shit and I got to pardon him, if I specifically say 11 years and I say for any crimes he committed or may have committed, that means that I know that you have something else out there in the ether that could subject you to criminal exposure federally. And it's my job as the commander and dad to make sure I insulate you from it, even though you selling paintings for $1.4 million and you don't know how to draw shit. But it's my job as president and dad to do that for my son if that's what I choose to do. This is my rationale. Y'all let me know, because I find it hard I can't rationalize and it makes no sense. I don't see the connection in a president who appointed the attorney general saying that he was unfairly prosecuted when you had the means to dictate really whether he was prosecuted. Now, should it work like that? No, I do agree it shouldn't work like that. I do agree that the executive should have no influence on the Justice Department, and the Justice Department should be able to prosecute people regardless of who sits in the big seat. But let's just keep it a buck. It is what it is. You got that job, and if you don't do what people want you to do, you may not be in that job. But I don't understand the nexus there. That's something that I think was a terrible statement. This is my thought on why I think things happen. he gave him a pardon for 11 years, from 2014 to 2024. So somewhere 2014, early 2014 to 2024. Like he actually, it may be December 2024. So he may got a few weeks left to go out there and commit some new felonies and still be protected. But essentially, he has an 11-year period of window where all crimes committed or he may have committed can be swept under the rug, no consequences, no federal charges. Now, let me see real quick. Let me hit this comment up. 10% for the big guy. Right. I agree. Now, this is what I think happened, okay? It's 11 years because Biden is clearly aware that there's other illegal conduct out there. Probably something related to either and or fraud or money laundering. Again, this is just speculation. I'm not saying this is the case. He has an 11-year window. I think these gun and tax things stemmed from like 2018 to 2020. One of the most important things that we know that's caught up in this 11-year window is the period of time that Hunter Biden served on the board of Burisma oil company when he knows nothing about oil and or business or anything to that effect. So that kind of jumps out as is looking kind of sketch. Now, if I'm the president and I appoint an attorney general, why or what benefit would I have for an attorney general to prosecute my son on it's a legit charge, but it's kind of on putting the wrong thing on a form, lying on a form, and this tax thing. Why would I want him to prosecute him on that? Because this is my thought, okay? And now I can't, it makes no sense to come back and say that's unfair. But if I was a president, I know my son has more serious crimes out there potentially than these two crimes. I'm going to hit up my attorney general and be like, yo, look, they hunting. They want to see my son's laptop. They looking at his old high school pictures. They asking everybody about him. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to prosecute him on something that's not as serious as what could be out there. Just because we got to give the people some blood. We got to give the people a show. Hey, are you not entertained? You have to be entertained. If I'm going to give you some blood, I would rather you, if I'm going to give you some blood, I'd rather cut myself right here as opposed to stabbing myself in the kidney or something like that. So I think this is my personal opinion. Again, just speculation. I think that the president had contact with his attorney general. He put it for this 11-year window because he knew it was much more serious charges out there. He couldn't have his attorney general, while it was still a possibility for him to run for office, he couldn't have his attorney general not do anything. So rightfully so, smart. Hey, prosecute my son for something that's kind of light. That way, he's getting prosecuted. He's in court. That maybe people will stop looking for a bigger prosecution because they have a couple of prosecutions over here where he has some potential time hanging over his head. Then once he bowed out, that was the first thing on his mind. That dude did not want to bow out, but I guarantee you his very first thought when he bowed out, because it would have been mine, would have been like, you know what? Since I'm not running no more and I ain't got nothing to lose, let me go ahead and make sure my son's squared away so I don't got to worry about this dude ever being in custody or potentially getting locked up. That's my thought. I personally think that there was no targeting, because if he was politically targeted, he was technically politically targeted by the same party that his father is a part of, which I don't know. There was no political targeting. I think it was a political strategy to charge him with a crime that had less criminal exposure than whatever else he may have had out there, whether it was with the bogus Paytons or the board on Burisma or anything like that. That's my thought. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all let me know if I'm off on that. But I think that's the whole reason around the pardon. I think that's the whole reason as to why these charges came up in the first place. It wasn't a singling out thing. It was a little bit of a strategy And you sitting that high up, these people aren't stupid. You got to do what you got to do what you got to do, and you're probably gonna do it smart. If it were me, if it were Trump, I guarantee you it wouldn't even got to a trial. He would have been like, "Hey, Attorney General Sessions or Bill Barr, hey, we not doing that," and the shit wouldn't have just happened. But same difference, just at a different stage. Same difference, just at a different stage. A lot of people want, and I do agree that the justice system, the Justice Department should be able to unilaterally do their job without the influence from the executive branch, but that's just not the way that things are. So we've seen on both sides. We've seen a Republican influence the judicial branch to get findings and or investigations maneuvered a certain way, and we see another instance where Democrats do it as well. So hey, everybody's pot calling the kettle black. They all doing the same shit. They're just doing it in different stages, at different points, in different manners, but it's all a method to be able to dictate how the justice system is controlled. That's just my opinion and take on it. He got kicked out of the Navy in 2014 for cocaine possession. He was hot on the board of bereavement. That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, it goes all the way back to 2014 to front, pretty much current. So that dude got a big ass pass. It is what it is. Is there any instance, if you were the president, where you wouldn't pardon your son? Because this sounds crazy. It depends on what he was charged with and convicted of. It depends what he was convicted of. I'll be honest. Like, hey, I'm not. Shout out to the parents who look out for their kids. It depends on what he's convicted of. If my son is convicted of like federal murder of some crazy shit, I'm gonna be like, bruh, nah, I don't even know if it's safe for you to be out. I don't know if it's safe for you to be out on these streets. That's my thought. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's the same difference. They all do the same thing. They all take money from corporations. They all finesse the system to their advantage. They all self-deal. Some people do it a little better than others. Some people a little bit more blatant than others. But I think at the end of the day, it is all a wash. So I think they all do the same thing. It's just a matter that some people try to do it a little bit more secretly. Some people try to do it more overtly. But is there any instance where if your son was convicted of a crime, would you issue a pardon? And if not, what would be the circumstances with which you wouldn't issue them a pardon? So for me, like, if my son was like on some serial killer stuff, nah, bro, you're not getting a pardon, man. You're gonna have to go over there. You're gonna have to go over there and sit down. Now, if my son had to delete somebody, but it was a situation where you look at the facts and the facts was like, was it self-defense? Is it self-defense? If it's a gray area, I'm probably gonna be like, nah, we're not gonna hold him for that. But if it's something outlandish, like, no, if my son is like going around punching toddlers in the face, like, nah, bro, you need to go sit down. I'm not pardoning any of that damn shit. Yeah. For anything goes to an extent. Generally, I would pardon my children, but it just depends. You know what I mean? Yeah, he did. He did. That's a fair point. That's a good point. Kushner got some. He got broke off too, boy. The Saudis took care of him. Shout out to being taken care of and using that influence. A pardon is a pardon. Hey, I agree. That's a fair point. I agree, but like so y'all would pardon y'all son if y'all son was on some like Jeffrey Dahmer shit. Y'all would be like, nah, man, I gotta let this dude back out. if a pardon is a pardon, if your son was like on some cinnamon toast crunch cereal deleter, he out here just snatching up people. That's kind of crazy. Like, yeah. No murders. I agree. We got limits to it. Now, if it's a gray area deletion, my son gonna be going home. I'm sorry. If it's a gray area, what's a gray area deletion? A gray area deletion is one of those situations like, let's say your son is on the subway late at night. He owns a firearm. He has a lawful concealed carry permit, but because he gets off of work late at night, he carries his firearm because he got to go to a neighborhood. He got to go through a neighborhood that's a little sketch, before he gets to your palatial estate. And while he's on the train, he's approached by like 3 kids. These 3 kids are, let's say, age 16, 17, and 15. But all 3 of these kids are starting varsity on a 5A high school football team. So they big as shit. These is how the facts play out. So, like, if in that instance, they trying to accost your son. He lawfully got a firearm, but he got it in a place where he's not supposed to have it, on a public transportation. He put in his work. These kids are found to have no weapon whatsoever. And of course, one argument is going to be like, man, he didn't need to kill those kids. They was 15, 16, 17. But the other argument is going to be like, man, those kids look like fucking NFL linebackers, man. He was intimidated and scared for his life. You know what those 3 kids could do to him? A fact pattern like that, I'm going to have to issue a pardon for young DFD Jr. That's just me. If it's a crazy murder, a crazy deletion, like, nah, bro, you got to sit over there. You played a stupid game, you won a stupid prize. But if it's something that's kind of a gray area, your boy is probably going to have to let him go. What's going on, Lisa? I appreciate you tuning in. Shout out to TC as well. I agree. No murders. Yeah. We still moral, sir. I agree. I mean, somewhat. I got somewhat of a moral threshold, but I don't know. I guess that's easier said than done because I could say that now, but there's another thing if I got a son and he about to go away and my little grandkids sitting there looking all stupid with their doe eyes, and I damn sure want them grandkids coming to stay with me. So I get it. I'm not mad at what Biden did. I just think that he didn't need to do all the extra bullshit and all the extra storytelling and capping. Just say what it was, man. Just say, yo, that's my son. I'm not running for office again. It is what it is. I'm going to pardon him. But I think all the table talk was pretty terrible, yeah. Had to be had. Self-defense is different. I agree. I'm just saying not all crimes are created equal. Generally, if it's some like white collar stuff, oh nah, we not anything white collar. We're like, nah, we not doing that. Yeah, pardon here. Yeah, I agree. If it's something that goes against my morals, no. And I think that's what it is for me. Like, nah, if somebody in my family out there being a creep, like, nah, you deserve to be where all the creeps who get caught go to. That's what it is. I agree as well. I want to backtrack because I wanted to hit up this question before we get out of here. Let's see. All right, see, I remember this. Shout out to my guy, F. Joe Biden. Can they seize illegal funds if you've been pardoned? That's actually a good question. Now, I'm going to tell y'all essentially how that works. I hate to give y'all the attorney answer. It depends. It depends when the person is pardoned in relationship to where they're at in the criminal process. So, for instance, if let's say in this situation, this dude owed $1.4 million in taxes. He was convicted of that. And they said, hey, you have to pay restitution. And he paid $1 million towards the restitution. If he's pardoned, anything that he's already paid towards Treasury, to Treasury, they have a general fund in Treasury where when you commit a fraud or you have to pay back the government, all of these funds go to Treasury, and Treasury will put them in either a specified fund for a program that the money was stolen from or in the general fund. But the long story short is if you've been convicted, you have a restitution to be paid. If you made any payments on that restitution, No, you're not getting that back. That money's done. That money's already been transferred. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I agree. That's fair. That's fair. Now, if they seize the funds, e- essentially you're only off of the hook if the funds is associated with the criminal matter that you were convicted of. That's what it boils down to. If I committed a crime, my pops is the governor, is a state charge, and I have a shitload of restitution, losses to the government, and court fines and all this other shit after I ate that conviction. And before I paid back anything, I'm pardoned. All of the money is associated with that entire criminal process because I haven't paid anything will be wiped away. So that's typically how it works. Now, the scenario you gave where the money has been seized, is this, I guess the first question is the money that's seized, is it related to the actual charge that he has been convicted of? That's the question. If the money that's seized, is it related to the actual charge that he's been convicted of? If no, is not an issue. If yes, then the next question is, okay, this money that was seized, when did the seizure occur? Would be probably the next question I would ask, because I need to know. Most times seizures occur prior to conviction. You can kind of seize the assets of a person. Once you have some inclination, you freeze assets. So it kind of depends. Let me see. No. The investigations is done. They can't do any. They can't do. The investigations is a wrap. Like any investigations on anything, whether it's old or new, if it falls within that window, that shit is over. That shit is finito. If the funds are seized, the question is the seizure related to the criminal conviction? If the answer is yes, I don't know for certain. Let me see if I can look. But if the answer is yes, I would believe it will fall under the same category as if you paid restitution. Because again, remember, if you paid restitution and the government, the treasury already has those funds, even if you're pardoned, you can't get it back. Yeah. So you won't be able to get it back. So I'm assuming it may be analogous to that. You've been convicted, funds have already been seized. Those funds are already within the government's possession. So it's probably a chance you won't get them back. Let me see if I can do a quick look to see. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a fair statement. I think that the charges that he was charged with and ultimately convicted of was strategically done in an effort to, when the people want blood, sometimes you got to give them blood. But is a difference between a cut on my finger and a cut on my damn torso is a difference. So I think that's 100% true. Let me see. I want to make sure. Let's see if they make a distinction. Generally, if the funds that you owe are already in the government's possession prior to you getting the pardon, you aren't getting those funds back. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Y'all know I can't do two things at once. Mm. Let me see. All right, I had to go to the statute to look. So let's see. Effects of illegal pardon. Let's see. Olson versus the United States, but unless the rights property condemned would have accrued, the penalty of forfeiture annexed to the commission must fall with the pardon of the offense itself, provided the full operation of the pardon not be restrained by the conditions upon which it is granted. United States, however, property is condemned or its proceeds have thus vested but remain in the control of the executive or the officer subject to his orders. For the judicial tribunal, property will be restored or its proceeds delivered to the original owner upon the full pardon. The property and proceeds are not considered as so absolutely vesting in third parties or in the United States as to be unaffected by the pardon until they have passed out of the jurisdiction of the officer of the tribunal. The proceeds have thus passed. I'm sorry, I'm reading like this, but it's a lot. I don't want to go through all of it till I read it first. Thus, proceeds have thus passed when paid over to the individual entitled to them in the one case, or are covered into the treasury in the other. The general pardon Armstrong, therefore, yeah, so typically, if the money that you owe gets back to the person who rightfully owed it to, it's probably a wrap. You're probably not going to be able to get it. That's what it's looking like. Yeah, I mean, that would be a hypothetical, but John Gotti not getting pardoned. I think I saw a case where I think I saw a case before when I was looking at it where some rich ass person was convicted of a crime. Let me see. Let me see. I need to look because there's actually a case. Anthony Lewandowski, who was pardoned after stealing trade secrets from Google. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison for stealing trade secrets, and in March he declared bankruptcy after the court said he had to pay $179 million to Google. I think that's the case that actually deals with this. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm a post a comment on the community page and get back to you. But I think that what I'm seeing right now and the cases that I looked up in just this brief second, it essentially says that once the funds are in the possession of a third party who are entitled to the funds, even after getting the pardon, is nothing you can do about it. So if you defrauded the government or you owe taxes and you paid money, that's a wrap. Now, if you hadn't paid anybody and you got pardoned, now you don't owe absolutely anything. Before conviction, John Gotti would keep all of his funds from his criminal enterprise. Now they still can freeze his assets temporarily because they're the results of suspected criminal activity. So otherwise, he was a good boy. Yeah. Well, if Joe's investigated and it leads to Hunter running a criminal enterprise, could the DOJ seize all of his funds? That case, it'll be wide open though, because anything that happened, long as it happens outside of that time frame, yeah, they can seize all of that shit. They won't be able to revise any of those old claims, but presumably, if it's, let's say, presumably in 2026, is found out that Hunter Biden was, as an example, was a criminal mastermind who was doing all of these things. And one, it depends, when did those things occur? What would be the statute of limitation? It would have to be something new that occurred after 2024 and 2026. And if it is something new, they can seize his assets because that's an entirely new charge. Now, everyone's assets aren't frozen when they're charged with a crime. So it has to be something substantial monetarily. You don't see like shoplifters with their assets frozen or drug dealers who stand on the corner all day. Nobody freezing their assets because they probably ain't got shit. It's normally reserved for high-level drug traffickers and persons who commit white-collar crimes because you're talking about large volumes of money. So that's typically what it is. But I don't know. Y'all let me know. I think I don't disagree with what Joe Biden did. He pardoned his son. I think most of us would have done it. I think we all would have been LeBron James. We all would have get our son. If we can help our kids out, we're probably going to help them out. I do agree with the comment, though, that was said earlier. You have to have some type of moral compass. I do agree with this comment. If it's something to go against my morals, no. So, like, yo, if my son's convicted of doing something that's not moral, that is not a crime of moral turpitude, is what they say in the law. If it's not a crime of moral turpitude, I'm like, we probably gonna let that go. We're gonna have to pardon that and keep it pushing and keep it moving. Now, it will be interesting to see. I seriously doubt it, but there's always the possibility of some state exposure for crimes because the president can't pardon state charges. So there is definitely a possibility of exposure at the state level, but I don't think nobody's gonna. I don't know. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if some state attorney general just picked up something and said, well, if he pardoned it federally, I'm going to go after him for state charges. I seriously doubt it. I think it was like Delaware and California or something like that where these acts occurred. Both of those places are blue places. So I don't see. Now, if he did some shit in like Arkansas or Florida, he might be screwed. He might be fucked. They might file state charges instantly. But in light of where those charges occur, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I'm interested to see that. So you think he's going to give those? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Y'all, you think he's going to give pardons to all the January 6th folks? I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, but this is just me personally. I think it was a lot of lip service. That's just me. I think it was a lot of lip service. That side, how can I put this? Like, everybody's like, oh man, Trump says all these crazy and wild things, and oh man, that's racist and this and that. And let's just be honest, that he has a certain segment, a certain population of votes that he has to get. If he does not give this population of votes, well, I don't know, he blew somebody out. But generally, if he doesn't get a certain population of votes, he probably won't have any chance at winning. So I personally think that he's not going to pardon. That's actually a good question. I might put that up. Do you think that the January 6th folks are going to get a pardon from President-elect Trump once he's sworn into office? I don't think so, because I personally think it was just lip service to rile up the base. Now, if he did it, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it would be early. If he does it, I don't think he's going to do it. But if he does issue a pardon for the January 6th folks, it damn sure won't be on the front end of him going there. It'll be on the back end when he's near the end of his term, where he'll be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and commute those sentences or pardon it so that shit isn't on their record. I just don't see him. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. Y'all let me know. Yeah, we'll see soon. Yo, that's it for this video. Hey, I appreciate everybody who tuned in, especially when we can talk politics, because everybody gonna hate me. No matter what I talk about with politics, I always get shit from everybody. And as I always say, hey, I reserve the right to have my own political opinions and ideologies, because I've done more for this country besides just pay my taxes as a disabled combat veteran. But that's it for this video. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hey, we're gonna see. That's a poll question to put up. I say no. I don't think it's gonna happen. But if it does, it won't be at the beginning. Being at the beginning would be crazy. Partner them on day one would be crazy. That shit would be wild. I don't know. I wouldn't advise that. But hey, you in office. Nobody can tell you nothing. It's the last term you're gonna do, so you might as well do whatever the fuck you want. I kind of feel it. Same reason Joe Biden pardoned his son. Yo, I appreciate everybody. Y'all have a good one. Be safe. I'll get at y'all tomorrow as we talk about our favorite. I'm not gonna say our favorite mayor, but we'll talk about the super mayor, Tiffany Henyard. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace.